Good evening. Good evening. My name is Jim Parker, and I'll be your moderator tonight. I want to remind you to please silence your cell phones if you haven't already. I appreciate that very much. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'd like to welcome the audience, the panelists, and the MCAT viewers to this first of 3 community forums entitled Seeking Opportunity and Excellence Among Town and Gown, the Missoula Community and the University of Montana. This series hopes to provide a dialogue through a series of community forums. The goal is to engage concerned citizens, stakeholders, and interest groups in the discussion. I'd like to thank MCAT TV for covering the event. This event will be videotaped by Missoula Community Access Television as part of its Media Assistance Grants Program. For more information about the grant program, please contact MCAT at 542-6228. Tonight's forum's theme is Local Governance and the Missoula College. Forum number 2 will be on Tuesday, July 23rd, 2013, 7 p.m. right here in City Council Chambers. The theme will be Jobs in the Local Economy. What makes a campus? How are they related? And forum number 3 will be on Thursday, August 29th, 2013, 7 p.m., also right here in City Council Chambers. The theme will be The Vision, the future of higher education in Missoula. How do we plan together? Who's in charge? And now let's get to tonight's forum and our panelists. Here's how tonight's forum will work. Each panelist will have up to 5 minutes to respond to the question posed. They may use presentation materials as part of their presentation or not. That'll go roughly 35 minutes. I will try to let you know when you have 1 minute left, when you have 30 seconds left, and then please stop. I don't think we're going to have any problems with that tonight. After that section, which will take roughly 35 minutes, I'll then conduct a 30-minute question and answer period from the audience members to the panelists. Audience members will please step up to the front here, and we'll turn on the microphone so you'll be heard and it'll be recorded. Please try to keep your question as focused as possible, and try not to spend more than a minute asking your question if possible, and you can direct it to 1 or more panelists. Panelists, on your half, please try to respond to the question asked, and try to limit your response to no longer than 2 minutes. That'll give as many members of the audience an opportunity to ask a question, roughly 30 minutes. At that point, each panelist will then have a 2-minute closing statement suggesting the next steps to this conversation, which will take roughly 15 minutes. We hope the whole program will last no longer than 1 hour and 30 minutes. And I'd like to give you a brief bio of tonight's panelists. This is not in the order they'll be speaking. We've drawn as panelists came in, and so I will reorder this as we go. On my far right, we have Dr. Mehrdad Kuhr, who is a professor, Department of History at the University of Montana, and will be speaking for UM faculty. On my left, we have Peggy Kuhr. She's the Vice President for Integrated Kuhr. Sorry, Peggy. Vice President for Integrated Communications, University of Montana. Peggy is, as I say, Vice President for Integrated Communications at the University of Montana, position she was named to in mid-January. She oversees internal campus communications and external communications with the public, including the news media. She often serves as spokesperson for UM. After a 25-year career in newspapers, Kuhr returned to her home state of Montana in 2007 when she was named Dean of the School of Journalism. Before coming to UM, Kuhr was a faculty member at the University of Kansas, where she held the Knight Chair on the Press, Leadership and Community. Before that, she spent 16 years at the Spokesman Review in Spokane, Washington, in a number of top newsroom positions. She also has worked for the Hartford, Connecticut Courant and the Great Falls Tribune, her hometown newspaper. She's a graduate of UM, where she majored in journalism and French, and she has a master's degree in organizational leadership from Gonzaga University. Also on my left at the far end is Jack Lyon, PhD. Jack is the president of Advocates for Missoula's Future. He's a retired Forest Service research biologist and emeritus adjunct professor at the University of Montana and will be speaking for Advocates for Missoula's Future. And I failed to mention that Peggy will be representing tonight the UM President's Office, University of Montana President's Office. To my second left, Asa Hohman. Asa is the current president of the Associated Student of the University of Montana and president of the Montana Associated Students. Asa served as the student lobbyist in Helena for the 2013 legislative session. Asa was a student and graduated from the Missoula College, formerly the COT, and was born in Missoula, where most of his family is from and resides. To my direct left is Alex Taft. Alex Taft is an active member of the Missoula, Montana community. He is currently a Missoula City Councilor, having been elected for a 4-year term in 2011. He served as chairman of the board of the Mountain Line Transit System and vice chair of the Missoula Transportation Policy Coordinating Committee. Alex retired as executive director of the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, located in Washington, D.C. in February of 2004 after a 30-year career as a transportation professional. He received a BS in Commerce from Washington and Lee University and a master's degree in urban affairs from Boston University. To my right, in the middle, is Michele Landquist. Michele was born in Bremerhaven, Germany, into a military family. Michele fell in love with Missoula as a child in the mid-1960s when she lived here for about 3 years while her father was assigned to Fort Missoula as a National Guard advisor. She moved back to Missoula a few years after graduating from high school in the mid-70s. Missoula County has been her home now for more than 38 years. Michele pursued her higher level of education as a non-traditional student, graduating from the University of Montana in 1999 with a BA in biology, natural history emphasis, and a minor in communications. As a county commissioner, Michele serves on the Bitterroot RC&D Council, the Human Resource Board, the Larchmont Golf Course Board, the Mr. MTA, Missoula Valley Transportation Management Association, and the Transportation Policy Coordinating Committee Board, the Mayor's Downtown Advisory Committee, Missoula County Fairgrounds Advisory Committee, and Western Montana Fair Planning Committee. Michele is happily married and has 2 grown daughters and 5 grandchildren. She enjoys raising sheep and gardening on their small family farm in Lolo. And then to my direct left, Joe Knapp, MD. Joe is a cardiologist with the International Heart Institute of Montana, Providence St. Patrick Hospital, 1982 to present. He's been a trustee with the Missoula County Public Schools, 2009 to present. He was recently elected chair of MCPS board. He has 3 children, all graduates of Missoula County Public Schools. 2 older children attended UM. One is a 2nd grade teacher in Stevensville. His youngest daughter is a 2012 graduate of MCPS and is starting her 2nd year of college in Boston. I'm Jim Parker. I'm a small business owner running a marketing and advertising company, a 1992 UM alumni with a BA in political science and a minor in environmental science. And I've been a taxpayer in Montana since 1989. So please give a nice round of applause for our panelists tonight. Tonight's question, which each panelist will have 5 minutes to respond to, is the following. In your view, what is the educational mission of the Missoula College, and how does it align with the current role of the Missoula College? As we look ahead, what will students in the local community need from and want for the Missoula College? Tonight, the first person to respond to that question will be Peggy Kuhr.
Thank you so much, Jim. I guess I drew the long or the short straw, depending on how you want to look at it. I want to thank you for organizing this. Thank you all for coming out. I hope you didn't get soaked in that downpour. And also thank my colleagues for being here on the panel. I am speaking as the Vice President for Integrated Communications and President Engstrom sends his regards. He is, I think by now, arrived in Seattle for a series of accreditation meetings. And I also would like to point out that we have several, and I'm going to call them experts in the audience from UM. We have our Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, and Missoula College is part of that, Perry Brown. We have the Dean of Missoula College, Barry Good. We have, I will mention the Chair of the Faculty Senate, who represents the faculty. Liz Putnam is here. Also, Bill Johnston will be here, who importantly was the lobbyist for the university and for the Montana University system, and worked very hard this past session on the funding for a new building for Missoula College. When we talk about mission, what I would say is that the mission of Missoula College and the mission of all two-year colleges in the Montana University system is set by the Board of Regents and by the Office of the Commissioner of Higher Education. So that mission, and there is a handout. I like the mission because it's one page. As a former journalist, the shorter you can be, the better. In explaining what you're about, it's very clear. I'm not going to read it to all of you, but I thought I would spend my time going back over some of the history, just to remind us where we've been and where we are now. Actually, the college was founded back in 1967 as part of the Missoula County School System and was a vocational technical education center for several decades. And then in 1987, it became part of the Montana University system. In 1994, that's a critical year because that's the year when the Montana University system was reorganized. And as a result of that, Missoula College was then named the College of Technology, and it became embedded within the University of Montana. Of the two-year colleges across the state, there are 3 that are embedded in larger institutions. And so that would include Highlands College, part of Montana Tech, and then the City College, which is part of MSU Billings. That was in 1994 that Missoula College, then called College of Technology, became fully part of the University of Montana. And then in 2011, the 2-year college mission for all the 2-year colleges in Montana was approved by the Board of Regents. I mentioned I have the handout. One of the things we were thinking about, or the state was thinking about at the time, was affordability, accessibility, and getting the word out, because the state of Montana, through the Office of the Commissioner and the board, wants more Montanans to pursue higher education, whether it's directly from high school or whether it's vocational training or it's 2-year degree on to 4-year or it's decades after high school. That mission has 5 purposes. I'm going to mention them quickly because my time is running out. Thank you, Jim. Transfer education. These are not in order of priority. It is not a new part of the mission. Transfer education, workforce development, developmental and adult basic education, lifelong learning, and community development. I'm going to stop with that. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much, Peggy. Number 2 speaker tonight is Dr. Mehrdad Kia. Dr. Kia.
Thank you, Jim, very much. First and foremost, I want to express my personal appreciation for your role in organizing this. This is probably how the process of discussing the mission of Missoula College should have started from the very beginning, but it's never too late. I consider myself a staunch supporter of 2-year education, and naturally the College of what was College of Technology and what is now Missoula College. 2-year education is essential for the economy of the city of Missoula, for the state of Montana, and we have to do everything possible to support its mission. I had the privilege of being taken to the campus some years ago by the Dean Barry Good, and I was appalled by the fact that the Missoula College, with all its growth, was still contained in very, very old and outdated facility. I think we cannot deny the fact that aside from talking about these things, we have to address two essential elements tonight. One essential element is, what is the relationship of two-year education with four-year education? And how does the mountain campus, as it's called, the main campus, University of Montana, can integrate the Missoula College and two-year education in its structure? Secondly, and I think we cannot avoid this, and I'm sure questions will come, is the physical structure, the actual venue for which the Missoula College should be built in and should be structured. I think with regard to the first issue, the issue of the curriculum, I have always been an avid supporter of separation between four-year education and two-year education. These are two different institutions with two different objectives. The four-year education is there to provide a holistic social science, humanities, scientific training, and it is for many students who will go to job market in these fields or want to advance to MA and PhD programs. Whereas two-year education, as you look at the actual website of Missoula College itself, is applied training. Applied training is for a specific areas and fields and has very little to do with four-year education. When you say this, sometimes there is a talk, well, the four-year people, the faculty at University of Montana are sort of arrogant toward two-year education. And if I may say, that's nonsense, because the overwhelming majority of faculty at UM are very supportive of Missoula College and two-year education. The question is, you cannot mix apples and oranges. You cannot have a curriculum which has both two-year education and four-year education and just mix it up with the hope that it will somehow work. That's what we want to, I think, understand. One, and the second thing is this whole question of where is the venue for this new building, which I'm sure some of you have questions about. I have always maintained that Missoula College needs a building, needs the best building it can get, but it has to have its own campus away from the mountain campus, and it has to have all of its units under one umbrella. And I do tend to believe that that venue and that physical space is the West Campus, which is next to the community hospital. It has all the infrastructure, it has all the ready-made bases that it requires, and therefore it should go there. And I hope that with the support from the community, this issue can be discussed in open and very transparent fashion, and people do not find themselves surprised by changes every few months. It's going to be in the golf course. No, it's going to be in East Broadway. We have to bring the community in. We have to discuss these. They are taxpayers. They pay our salaries. And I hope that we can make a decision in a very democratic and open fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'll hold your applause to the end, and Peggy, I must apologize. I cut you off about 30 seconds early. I'm going to give you an extra minute at the end of this discussion. My apologies for doing that. But I'm new to this stopwatch thing, so I'll try to get it under control here. Next will be Alex Taft. Alex, you have 5 minutes.
Thanks, Jim. Before I get into discussing what I believe the mission of Missoula College is, I'd like to read to you the City of Missoula's mission. The mission of the City of Missoula is to facilitate the health, safety, and well-being of the Missoula community. We are professional, proactive, and responsive local government working cooperatively in mutual respect and trust with dedicated, well-informed, and responsive citizens to seek the highest quality of life for our community. Now, as I look at what I believe the mission for Missoula College is, it is to provide an occupational and technical degree for those desiring to move immediately into the workforce, and a general associate degree for those desiring to attain further education with a 4-year college degree. So it has several missions. I believe it has that mission because, as I understand it, Montana has one of the lowest rates of post-secondary school education by high school graduates. And the regents, in their wisdom, and I think rightly, decided to link community colleges with the university system to increase that rate. So how do we link the city's mission with the Missoula College mission? Missoula is a college town and a medical center. We are not the resource extraction town like Billings. We are not the government town like Helena. We sell education as our economic development strategy. So the part for Missoula College in linking those missions is that it adds to that strategy by providing skilled employees for future local jobs in short order, creating a more directed workforce. It also increases enrollment in Missoula, adding to our economic health, especially downtown and in the contiguous neighborhoods. The city's part in linking those two missions is that UM and Missoula College students represent over a quarter of our population for most of the year. It is the city's responsibility to serve the segment of the population with a high quality of life. Now, I would like to have a word about the location of the college, since it is so important to many people in the community. I have been an advocate and still am an advocate for the South Campus site. I believe there was a long and open process in selecting that site. I believe there's plenty of room for expansion of Missoula College as it grows, and that it has good existing transit service. The East Missoula site that has been talked about recently may be too small. It may have no room for growth. It may force out the park and ride which currently exists, causing more traffic congestion in town. And it may not be able to be used as a site for student housing, which is one of the city's important strategies to relieve the tight housing market we have in Missoula. In summary, I believe the mission of Missoula and Missoula College are complementary. In my view, the more we support its growth, the better we may improve the quality of life in Missoula.
Thank you very much, and thank you for staying under your allotted time. Next panelist is Joe Knapp. Joe?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I'm here really wearing two hats. First of all, from Missoula County Public Schools, but secondly, in my profession. And so I'm going to take those in that order. This last year, we graduated 850 students from Missoula County Public Schools who are all looking for opportunities. A goodly number of them will be at the University of Montana on the main campus. A goodly number of them are going into the military, into workforces elsewhere. But a goodly number of them don't see either one of those paths as their cup of tea and are looking for opportunities in fields that are not necessarily truly technical in nature, but are really career-oriented, yet not liberal arts-based. And that's a huge part of the population of students that we sent out into the real world just a couple of weeks ago who need opportunity. And schools like Missoula College are exactly that source of opportunity. I'm now going to switch to my professional hat as a cardiologist, and I'm going to use a specific story. A week ago, two of my colleagues, plus two of my interventional cardiology colleagues, along with me, along with a cardiac surgeon, along with a cardiac anesthesiologist, that's five of us, six of us, whatever that number is, implanted percutaneously, meaning through a small incision in a lady's leg, a heart valve. Not only one person, but two people. And in fact, we've done that 10 times now in the last month. It's an extraordinarily technically challenging, complicated, but very gratifying procedure for people with very difficult conditions. But the five of us did not do this in a vacuum. There were 4 nurses, as well as 2, 4, 6, 9 technical people in the room. 2 radiation techs, 2 surgical techs, 2 certified nurse assistants, an IT tech, and an ultrasound tech, all assisting me. Those people are the kind of people that Missoula College is designed to educate. These are people who need technical positions that are very well paying in an industry that is really the bellwether of this community, which is healthcare. We are 16% of the national economy, and I pray tell we're even a larger part of the local economy. So for these 2 reasons, first of all, in my wearing my hat as a Missoula County public school trustee, turning students out into the workforce, and as a consumer of those technical skills in my profession, this is an enormously important part of our educational as well as our practical business community in this town. This is a vital resource, and it needs a place to learn.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Michele Landquist. Michele.
Thank you for inviting me to participate in this community discussion. I think it's one that really does need to happen, and I appreciate everybody that came out on this funny, unpredictable, rainy night. So thank you all for being here. So the question from a county commissioner perspective, I don't really quite feel like this is the right question for me, to tell you the truth. I think the next 2 questions for the next 2 forums are much more up my bailiwick as a county commissioner, that being what are the economic and community impacts of the Missoula College and its location, and how shall we continue to conduct the open communication about the challenges and opportunities of planning for the college. So I think some of that will probably come out tonight regardless. But as far as the question you've asked us to address, what is the educational mission of Missoula College and how does it align with the current role of the Missoula College, I think they're doing what their mission is in the curriculum that they have, in being so wonderful at offering everything that they do in providing skilled people for the important roles that they play in our workforce. So some of it more skilled than others, but they are doing a good job of what it is they do. They've just outgrown their space. What they haven't necessarily done a good job of is the public process for how they get to their new point, and that comes with strategic planning that should encompass and spell out what they plan for all of their land holdings. Taking a major assessment of all the holdings you have at the fort, located elsewhere, and much like a city or a county, I know that the school systems can't just arbitrarily get rid of land that they own. You just don't put a for sale sign on it. You have to decide, establish that it's no longer needed for this public entity, and you have to put it up to auction off. That's one of the reasons that as a county commissioner, I was steering our fairgrounds folks to enter into a resolution with our other neighbors out there where the fairgrounds is located. So we're not making any more land, and there's not necessarily a lot of land to go around to fit everybody's needs. So out where the fairgrounds is, hopefully all of us neighbors can get along, and when we build new buildings, some of them may have shared uses for that very reason. I know the university's been put in the hot seat about, why don't you go out to the fort? Why don't you go, stay where you are and use some of the fairgrounds? Well, we need to have that community discussion, and we are all in this together. It will, what one party does may affect traffic somewhere else. So, just like the city and the counties have had to have, mandated by the state legislature some years ago, growth policies and land use plans, I think it's time that maybe the university do the same thing with their holdings and look at the plans that the city and the county already has on the shelf. The only thing holding us back from implementing some of the plans is money, of all things, go figure. But maybe together, this community can finally get there by having a broader discussion. And I think the university definitely needs to do that and answer that once and for all. I know, if I remember correctly, some years back, some of the land that they own at the fort is used by the ag program that the high schools have for their grazing and cattle operations. So, so the public doesn't know this. Doesn't remember all of these things. So a good discussion and strategic planning is definitely needed. And these forums, I think, are a really good start for that to happen. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Our next panelist will be Jack Lyon. Jack?
Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is a bad night for it, but it's a beautiful operation just getting here. We left some mission statements on the table out here comparing the mission of the University of Montana and the two-year colleges. And I think if you read through those, you'll find out that there are some very substantial differences between these two missions, and it's very probable they can't be accomplished in the same place. The two-year college, community college mission was provided by the the Lumina Foundation, who gave a grant to the state of Montana to aid in converting all 5 of the formerly VOTEC colleges into two-year community colleges. Some of them have already converted. Some of them are headed in the right direction. This, as far as I know, is the only one, the Missoula College, where there's been an attempt made to integrate it into the university and make it a part of an already existing system in a way that, in my mind at least, cannot work. Rather than go individually into the comparisons between those two missions, I have a message that I would like to read because it fits very well into this. This is a message from Lillian McCammon. She taught business at Sentinel High for a number of years. She was instrumental in developing the business curriculum for the College of Technology. She went to Helena and taught in the Helena College for a number of years. Again, a community college rather than an adjunct of a larger university. And Lillian is very concerned about what's going on with the Missoula College because she really loves students. Here's what she says. To me, the location of a unified school affects both faculty and students. All teachers need to meet together for faculty meetings without having to travel from one setting to another. The exchange of ideas during lunch hours and coffee breaks are an important part of a teacher's day. How does my subject relate to other instructors' subject matter? How can we enhance learning? Students, too, enrolled in all disciplines need to communicate in the same way during lunch and coffee breaks. And everyday discussions have the advantage of bringing all COT faculty and students together, not just an elite few in one spot and another few miles away. Completely separated from the U of M, the COT is free to develop pride in itself without being a tag-along brother or sister. A 2-year certificate from the COT has meaning as a separate entity. Let both instructor and student take pride in his or her own unified campus. All of the above is possible only if the Missoula College of Technology is located adjacent to the present facility on the Fort Missoula campus. Thank you. How's that for a short one?
That was very nice. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And the next speaker will be Asa Hohman. Asa?
Yeah, thanks, Jim, and thanks everybody for coming tonight. When I was contacted to think about this question, I went about it in a very technical approach to actually think about the mission of the Missoula College, having never read it, but having been a former student at the Missoula College. So I pondered what my experience has been there and what I thought I saw there, and as well as what I wanted to see there. And what I came up with was strikingly similar to the mission as it's currently written. I think that the educational mission of the Missoula College is quite simply to provide quality and affordable education that enables workforce development and certificate training. This quality training enables a quick transition from the two-year college to the job force. I think that that's critical. But I think as critical is the transition ability from students who go to the Missoula College to then transition without fear into a much bigger, much more diverse traditional four-year school. I think that a lot of students who attain education at Missoula College and other community colleges have been hitherto disenfranchised in their educational opportunity. I know that that's how it was for me in high school. I know that's how it was for many of my peers at the Missoula College. And so I think one of the great things that the Missoula College does, and equally as important in its mission as is the workforce development, is that transitional training into a four-year school. I think this role that I've outlined for the Missoula College, which, as I mentioned, fits really well into its current mission statement, is exactly what the Missoula College is currently doing. I think it's fantastic at churning out workers. It has a 100% pass rate with its nursing program, and it develops quite a few transition students who have overwhelming success at the big campus. The only thing that hinders this transition and the only thing that hinders these technical certificate trainings is the space that they have to work with. The space that, quite frankly, disenfranchises the educational opportunities, the training abilities. They just don't have the space for the equipment that they need, for the instructors that they need, for the class sizes that they need. I also think that proximity to the Missoula College is very important. Proximity from the big campus, the mountain campus, to the Missoula College, I don't think can be overlooked. While I appreciate the thought that two-year students are different students and deserve their own campus, I think that we're overlooking the fact that several of them do want to continue their training. They do want to seek a four-year degree. They just don't necessarily know how to. They just never have thought of that as an opportunity or an option in their lives. I think that while I understand the fear or the reticence to mix apples and oranges, that being traditional students and Missoula College students, I think sometimes when you mix apples and oranges in the right portion, you get a really good smoothie. And if we mix our students in the right portions at our two campuses and keep the areas that are separate because they need to be separate, because they're two different things and not because it's convenient for us and it's convenient for how we've thought of education in the past, I think we can come up with a really promising future for the Missoula College and for the University of Montana and overarching for the Missoula community at whole.
Thanks, Asa. And Peggy, I'd like to give you an opportunity to have a few more words if you'd like. You all set for now? All right. Well, thank you very much, panelists, for your opening statements. I'd like to take about a half hour or as long as we need up to that point for questions from the audience. If you'd like to have a question to any or all of the panelists, please come right up to the microphone, push it down to make sure that the green button is on, and let us know what you think. So please.
Push, okay. You hear me? So very quickly, a quick annotation and then a question. Coming from critical theory, you know, space and function are very closely intertwined. And using your culinary metaphor or food metaphor, there is such thing as fast food McDonald's, which is very useful. You are hungry, you don't have time, you fulfill a need, you satisfy a need. Then you have the culinary art restaurant, where for different reasons, which are not the same, and both are necessary, you go to that restaurant you enjoy. Okay. Now, would you mix at all levels a Burger King with a Bernardin like in New York, for instance. No, of course not. So what I'm going back to, a holistic question. In the US right now, you have liberal arts education, 4 years education, under attack, subverted all over the country, all over universities. Foreign languages, philosophy, English, sociology are being squeezed and replaced. And the goal of that education is to make you think, to produce thinker, critical thinker. And there's a such thing as two-year university producing workers. Not that workers should not think, of course, but that's two different things. And my question is, aren't you afraid, in regard of what's going on all over the country, a lot of books have been written about that, aren't you afraid that the 2 years institution is going to be used willy-nilly, hypocritically, directly, manipulated in such a way that is going to erode further the 4 years education, the 4-year liberal education? For instance, already 15 credits can be obtained for a BA at the UM.
Please try to finish up the question and direct it.
Coming from the Missoula College. So I see a danger, and I ask the whole panel what they think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start on my left, and anybody that has a comment.
I guess I have no comment because I really don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks for the question, and I think it's a valid question. And I think if you were to ask anybody in higher education, we're all afraid of what the future for higher education is. I think we're all afraid of what's happening to the liberal arts, what's happening to the arts in general. But I think that to propose that somehow a 2-year education is going to further disenfranchise that is a bit of a misnomer. I think that we need to teach critical thinking to all of our students, and I think that we most especially should teach it to those that are going to be going out into technical fields. And if we can do that by diversifying our classrooms a little bit and having them take critical thinking courses that teach them to think outside of the box, we're doing them a service. And by not doing that, we're doing them a disservice. I also think that having more students graduate from a 2-year school who otherwise wouldn't have sought higher education at all, that only helps higher education. That's only more people in the community who see the benefits of seeking higher education, who will in turn want their children to seek higher education.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think, as I understand it, the question is, will 2-year college erode the quality of a 4-year college? I think we have to look at what we are as a city, as a town. We are 500 miles from any major urban area. We are a university town. We no longer have a substantial forestry industry here. When we at City Council look at the newly revived Economic Development Subcommittee and talk with people in the town about what we need, it is education. So and fortunately, we have a 4-year college. I think by having the 2-year college and having that 2-year college expand, we will be able to retain the quality of life in Missoula.
Thank you. Peggy?
First of all, I do so appreciate having a student here to speak on behalf of students and someone who has experience both at formerly known as the COT and at the University of Montana 4-year campus now. I think there is room at the table for all. I think that when the University of Montana looks at strategic directions and looks at the future, it looks at improving undergraduate education and improving graduate education. They are equally important. They are supremely important. It looks at applied education. It looks at training. It looks at liberal arts education. Applied education doesn't only happen in the 2-year college. You have a number of programs that incorporate all kinds of education and training at the 4-year college as well, journalism being one, pharmacy being another. I think the concerns about liberal arts and the thinking, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that is something society is talking about. And I think there's room at the table for all, so I don't think one will push out the other. I think that's setting up a false opposition.
Thank you. Joe?
Yeah, a couple comments. from a school board member, I can tell you that there are plenty of students out there who are absolutely intimidated by the thought of being at the University of Montana, simply because it's a big school. It's 15,000 kids. It's easy to get lost. There's a reason we have Willard Alternative School, because kids get lost in big systems. There's some value in smaller institutions, issue number one. Secondly, there are clearly 18 and 19-year-olds, 17-year-olds graduating from our schools who have no interest in going into a liberal arts education, good or bad. It's just that they have an entirely different journey of life that they're looking toward. And this is an opportunity to provide them an alternative journey in their educational endeavors. I think the issue of divide and conquer is one that was being broached here, which is really an entirely different discussion. Keeping more on this point, I think that that one of our jobs as a community and as folks involved in education is to provide opportunity. And I can tell you that the opportunities provided at the College of Technology are distinct and different from the opportunities provided on the main campus, and that needs to be recognized. And they really they don't play in the same venue when it comes to education or to the opportunities being provided. So keep that in mind as this discussion kind of ensues.
Thank you. Michele?
I don't really have anything to add to that.
Okay. Dr. Kia?
Yeah, just I think if I understood Professor Valentine's question, it had nothing to do with false oppositions or not having these two institutions being equally important. I think what we have been saying is that they're equally important and very significant for the community, for the economy. The issue that I'm not hearing, I guess the response to that question, is the completely separate mission and objectives of these two kinds of educational forums. One trains a set of people for a very different set of objectives and outcomes, and the other one trains other people for a very different set of objectives. These are not the same. And I tell you, when you make a smoothie, you have to make sure how many apples and oranges you mix. Otherwise, you cannot eat it. Nobody argues about what Asa said. I completely agree with you. Transition is the key here. And I think everything should be done to facilitate very easy transition from 2-year education to 4-year education. And I'm also in complete agreement with you that there are a lot of folks like yourself from the 2-year education who want to continue to 4-year education, and everything should be done to facilitate that process as well. But that's a separate issue. The separate issue because these two institutions, while they are integrated under one umbrella, they serve very different academic and training purposes. And that's why I think the question was trying to address, and I'm just running out of time, so I cannot answer that question, that part of the question. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Someone else from the audience, please step right up.
My name's Paul Bohan, and I think these forums are great, but there's always something missing in the way the governance of Missoula. We have all sorts of people from the university. We have students from the university who represent ASUM. All these people are the driving force for the change in this community, but what we don't have is a regular resident. We never talk about regular residents, people that grew up in this community. And this forum is set up in a way that residents, we can ask a question, but we can't make any comment. And that's the way the whole discussion has been throughout this whole process. And I've stated this for over 1.5 years, and Ms. Kuhr, who's a journalist, have you guys ever seen a statement that I made in a city council meeting in the Missoulian? You haven't. Because people who oppose this force that's funded by our tax dollars eliminate the discussion of the residents, or they belittle the residents of discussion. I wrote a letter to the Missoulian about this whole issue. I also wrote it to a bunch of legislatures. You never read about, I wrote it to the city council too. Not one of the city council members responded to that letter about the golf course. Not one of the Missoulian didn't print that letter. They did print an ADU letter on the 3rd page of an opinion section. And this whole process is set up to make the residents' comments insignificant and the driving force. We have someone from St. Pat's Hospital. St. Pat's Hospital, and we talk about partnerships. What if someone came in and said, I have Acme Incorporated, I'm $1 million, the town lives on us?
Sir, if you can, it's a nice comment, and I would appreciate a question if you can.
The question is in this whole conversation, why has nobody mentioned residents of this city?
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll start on this end. Dr. Kuhr, do you have anything to respond to that?
No, I thought I was a resident of this beautiful city of Missoula. I've been living here for 24 years, and I've been working here. And I do agree that we need more voices, and I think this is just the beginning of this process. I think this is how you get the process started, but this is not, as I understood from Jim, this is not the only one. This is a continuing process, and I completely agree with your comment that there should be more, and there should be more inclusion of voices such as yours.
I want to thank you for coming to the mic and representing just a citizen. I think that's wonderful, and you are absolutely correct. And that's one of the things I'm hoping that comes out of these 3 forums is for the university then to take a step back at the process that hasn't occurred, that needs to occur, and have an honest public process about their lands and how to move forward with their lands and their mission to educate both at the university, the 4-year level, and the 2-year level for the college folks, and move forward, but to engage the whole community, not just people that were elected or have special, wonderful, warm, fuzzy jobs or whatever. You know, we need to have a good, solid, honest public process, and I please hope that the university gets that message loud and clear after tonight.
Thank you.
Well, I don't really have a whole lot to say. I thought that, I've been here for 32 years myself. My wife is a Missoula resident, 3rd generation. My daughters are 4th generation Missoulians. So I think we've kind of got our feet in the ground here pretty deep. I think it's really key. If the issue is the way the university has handled this whole thing, that's an entirely different discussion from my standpoint. And I don't think that's our mission or our purpose here today. I think our purpose is to better understand what are the similarities and distinctions between what is this mountain campus, a liberal arts institution, and the role of this secondary institution, the College of Technology, Missoula College, which has as vital and at least as vital a role to play in the future of our community than the university does. They have 2 distinct places and roles in our community. Much like we have a county government, we have a city government, much like we have a public school system for kids K through 12, we have an advanced education system as well. These all have major roles to play in the vitality and nature of the communities we live in. I think the nuts and bolts of what the university is doing, one can have major objections to, but I think it's very important to keep an eye on the ball of the absolute imperative of having a vibrant education for kids who are not particularly interested in a liberal arts advanced degree or going on to doctoral or postdoctoral work, as crazy people like I have done over the past. So I think it's really important to keep the eye on the ball for what this purpose and discussion is all about.
I think we need to look at the history a bit. Often the impression is left that there's been no public process, that there's been no plan, that this has just landed here in town and gone to the legislature and money asked for. I've been here 9 years. There was an idea first for the South Campus, which I believe was a bad idea, as did many other people, which was to build housing in that area for what I thought would be wealthy alumni. The community spoke up and said, that's not what we want. We want an educational purpose on the South Campus. The university, to their credit, then formed a blue ribbon committee advising the university about what should be used on that site. I'm repeating history as I remember it. Maybe I don't have the exact facts right, but we went through a long process, about a year-and-a-half process, that resulted in the proposal of putting Missoula College on the South Campus. And from there has been a plan for the location of the building. So I just wanted to get that history down.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. First of all, I think it bears taking note that Dr. Lyon over here is a community member, and we're all community members, but he's not in any way affiliated with an elected position or affiliated with the university at all. And the gentleman who put it on, Jim Parker, isn't either, and several of us at the table are not affiliated with the university system at all. So I think that every effort has been taken to make this a diverse panel. I also think that I would not want to disenfranchise any of the thousands of students in Missoula who are Missoula residents and have been Missoula residents. My family has been in Missoula since 1890, and I live here, and I've lived here for quite a while. So I think that I think that I am a resident. I also think that many of the students at the Missoula College are residents, and will continue to be residents after their training is over. They're the future taxpayers. So they're the future of this stake, this decision that we're making right now. And so I think that that's an important distinction to make, that we are all part of a big community. I'm not entirely sure how we would go about picking a single community member at large to sit on a panel. I'd love to hear that idea, but I'm just not really sure what that would be.
I really appreciate the comment and the question. And if we were to talk about the role of journalism and the mistakes and the challenges, that would be an invigorating and very different conversation. But good point. As a longtime journalist, there was often concern that we were not covering ordinary residents, people where they live, and I think that's a very good comment, and I appreciate that. Can't speak on behalf of what the coverage has been in Missoula, because I don't have a say in that now. But a good question that should always be asked, and a lot of people say that with the technology and all the digital means, that actually the conversation and voices of people who want to be heard, the accessibility is greater than ever. I also just want to mention that we talk about having an honest, open conversation, and I just want to mention 3 dates, 3 years, 2002, 2004, 2007. Those were the years when the university had published, after much discussion, its plans for the major tracts of land that it has. 2002 was the land use plan, the master plan for what's known as the Mountain Campus. 2004, Fort Missoula. 2007, South Campus. There is a lot of history there, and I think that those documents are all still available, all part of the conversation, so I appreciate that. They come up periodically. It's worth ongoing conversation, and it's worth remembering that the plans are out there, and they have long been established as policy for the University of Montana. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that question, because it really strikes a bell with me. You mentioned the history. In 2005, the then president decided that he wanted to put housing all over the golf course and that whole area, which they termed the South Campus. At that time, the city actually rose up in flames and attended a regents meeting at which over 300 people spoke and 6,000 people signed petitions against that project. The regents, bless their hearts, canceled it. And George Dennison, from the day that happened, has regretted that he has been unable to build on the golf course. His interview with the newspaper when he quit says that's his one major regret in his presidency, that he wasn't able to build something. Okay, now we get to the various plans that Peggy mentioned, and yes, they're all good plans, and every one of them has wound up with the same sort of presentation to the public. Either the writing of the plan, as the 2000 plan, had public participation, but every single meeting was formulated before the public showed up, and certain subjects were never allowed to be discussed. And this is all filmed on MCAT, so you can go watch and see that's exactly what happened. Once they get done with the plan, the university has had various and sundry public meetings explaining what they're going to do. But it's always the same meeting. It says, it's a done deal, here's what it is, and this is why we were trying to do it. Public discussion has never been involved, and until very recently, looked like it never would be involved.
Can you wrap it up, please, Jack? Thank you.
Okay. How much? You're out of time. Okay. I'm almost done. The advocates did manage to collect over 6,000 signatures against this current development. And in this case, we still didn't get very much attention. We finally got attention when we hired a lawyer. And I think you're all familiar with, we have a cease and desist letter to the Regents, and all of a sudden, we do have the attention of the University of Montana, and they are going to have public hearings and a lot of public involvement in anything that happens from now on.
Thank you very much. Another question from the audience.
Now we are. Thank you for having a public forum here in Missoula, Montana. My name is Louis Schneller, and I'm a resident of Missoula since 1961. I came here as a freshman and from Butte, Montana, and got a chance to play football for a while here with the Grizzlies, got married, raised a family, 4 children, graduated from the university twice, a BA in liberal arts, MA in guidance and counseling. I've worked here all my life. I love Missoula. I'm highly committed to it. I'm also a member, like Jack, of the Advocates for Missoula's Future. I'm the chairperson and spokesperson for Missoula Advocates. I have 2 questions and a couple of comments, both for Kia and for Jill Knapp. Number 1 on the question, in 2007, the Montana State Legislature authorized a $500,000 budget to fund a special study for the purpose of, guess what, consolidation and unification of the College of Technology, now conveniently called Missoula College. Whatever happened to that money? Whatever happened to that study? The recommendation that finally came out of it, the golf course was the last recommended place for the placement of the College of Technology. And guess what was the #1 recommended site location? The Fort Missoula Complex. That was at the same time the South Campus Plan was being discussed. It was never addressed. It's been ignored, and if it hadn't been for a group of ragtag citizens of Missoula coming together as advocates for our future to save the golf course. I don't know if any of you people drive around town much, but we have a few signs out there with people who are in favor of saving the golf course. They're in favor of saving open space. They're in favor of saving hang gliding.
Thank you. Can you get us to a question?
Okay.
Thank you.
The question to Peggy Kuhr is, whatever happened to that? Why was that ignored? Why aren't we dealing with that recommendation now today in favor of building out of the Fort Missoula complex? The mixing of apples and oranges. Now, I'll tell you what, folks, when I want to have an apple, I'll eat an apple. And when I want an orange, I'll eat an orange. I'm not going to blend 2 of them together. I think it would taste terrible.
Okay, thank you. Can we have an answer to that question? We'll address that to Peggy, please. Thank you. Is your microphone on?
Oh, no, it's not.
Thank
you. I know we have Bill Johnston in the audience, and I don't know if, Bill, you want to address that too, because you're intently familiar with legislation and been through the last number of sessions. So I would invite Bill to answer that question. And what I would say is that when we go back to what Alex was talking about with the South Campus master planning process, which was from 2005 to 2007. There was an intensive series of public meetings. There was no agenda, to my knowledge, set ahead of time. I'm sorry, I'm answering a question here, and I'm seeing sidebar conversation. Do you want me to stop? And that those were all 32 public hearings, and that was fully open conversation. I also actually would cede the rest of my time to Bill Johnston, should he like to take it.
I think we're going to hold up on passing off answers to other people outside of the panelists for now. He may come up with a question of his own. Anyone else want to address this before we move on?
Yeah, Jim, I just want to mention a couple of things in relation to that question. One, I want to point out, and I don't know how many of you have been to the current West Campus, but if you've been there, it's basically a one-room schoolhouse. It's not very ideal in itself. So I think the idea of, in an ad hoc fashion, adding on to that location is a slippery slope. I'd like to add as well that right now the university is vetting another location, and whatever reason that came about, it's still come about. And I also want to point out the fact that the current plan for the South Campus does include hang gliding. There's no reason why the Girl Scouts wouldn't be able to utilize the space. There would still be cross-country skiing, and there would even still be golfing for the foreseeable future. So I just want to, make that publicly aware if it's not.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Joe.
First of all, just a personal comment. This is my personal opinion. I would support the Missoula College being on a West Campus. My preference. That's not the reason I was asked to come here. My bigger concern is that there be available to the students that we are graduating from our secondary schools an opportunity to be technically educated should they choose. That's the key. And that means having a solid, comprehensive, available, funded educational system that is not just a Me Too institution that has a role, has a mission, and has an agenda that's quite honestly distinct and different from a liberal arts agenda. That's the key here. Really where it lands is a secondary issue. The primary issue is having that availability. That's a treasure to this community.
Yes.
No, I just want to second that, and a second, solid, comprehensive two-year college needs to have a solid, comprehensive, holistic campus of its own, and nobody has ever explained why not. What is the problem with having the entire Missoula College in one space and not having the heavy industrial in West Campus, the culinary arts on South Avenue, and now a new campus on East Broadway or on the golf course? That's 3 campuses for one Missoula College. Which one makes sense? To have 3 colleges separated and its accessibility and distance and transportation, or to have all units under one umbrella? And that is paying respect to two-year education.
Thank you. Another question from the audience. Oh, sorry, Jack.
I'm sorry, but I really wanted to get in on.
Is your mic on?
Oh, I thought I did.
Okay.
Okay, there it goes. This is among the many things that the advocates have discovered, that $500,000 was announced in November when the university put on their show for the university area residents on the most recent modification of the campus and the new plan and all the rest of that. President Engstrom announced at that time, when we asked where the money came from for the architectural design of this new building, he said, well, the 2007 legislature gave us $500,000, and that's what we used it for. And I don't know why the university has such a hard time admitting that they have misappropriated $500,000. Thank you.
Alex, did you have anything?
Yeah, I wanted to mention the city's policy of developing by focusing inward and supporting that by transit, biking, and walking where we can. It's a real trick to have a great place and have it grow without it losing its quality of life. And we are on that path in the city in our land use policies and our transportation policies. In my view, the South Campus site is the right site because of that policy.
Another question. Thank you. Thank you for waiting.
Hi, my name is Peggy Kane. I have lived here 57 of my 60 years. I was born in Whitefish, and I have been a Grizzly supporter all my life and still am. About everybody in my family has gone to the university. I was there 3 years as a music major, quit, went back to Votech a few years later, went to the LPN program because they were going to have a 2-year RN program, but that was 20 years later. So I never got it. I remember Joe from the clinic. I worked with Dr. Whitney. And anyway, the question I have is for Peggy about why is the university so intent on embedding the 2-year college? I have a daughter-in-law that's in administration in a 2-year college. University of Washington had a 2-year college embedded and it failed. So why can't it have its own campus? And what percentage of 2-year college students in any one semester attend the mountain campus?
Peggy.
Thanks. I always like to hear from another Peggy, so thank you. I would say again that the fact that Missoula College, when it was named College of Technology, was embedded in the University of Montana overall, that was back to 1994, and I think since then, if we look at where Missoula College is today, it's been a tremendous success. There are lots of models. It has worked well. It has grown. It is the fastest growing 2-year college in the entire state of Montana. It's not the only example of a fully embedded college, and the other examples are in, help me out here now again, it is in Butte and in Billings. So I think we're going back to 1994. It's not something new. It's working well. It's the way the university system overall was restructured. And we feel that having the Missoula College as part of the sector of the University of Montana in academic affairs gives it true standing and gives it a true mission as part of the university with, just like many other colleges, their own mission, their own purpose, and under the umbrella, fully part of the overall mission of the University of Montana. There was another part to your question. The percentage, I don't have that with me. I do know that last fall semester, when we were talking about the importance of proximity of the mountain campus to Missoula College, there were more than 500 Missoula College students who were taking classes on the mountain campus, and there were more than 700 mountain campus students who were taking Missoula College classes. So we're talking hundreds of students who may take 1 or 2 classes at the other campus. I don't have the percentage. There are about 2,400 Missoula College students. You had about 500 taking courses on the mountain campus.
I did not understand your reason, though, for embedding.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's get another question if we can. We're going to try to get a couple more in before our time's running low.
Yes, my name is David Werner, and I'm the author of one of your handouts. And however, on this page that shows the university's mission statement, I goofed it up, and basically, so the unstapled mission statement contains everything. And in that, I just want to point out the underlying parts of Missoula, University of Montana, Missoula, and that's graduate study, professional training with international emphases, competent and humane professionals, global communities, research, and benefiting the local community, region, state, nation, and the world. And I'm asking, I also would like to point out that Mr. Knapp points out a very important aspect, and I think most of this discussion is ignoring the needs of our secondary students and even our elementary students in terms of defining the kind of institution that they want to go to. And I agree fully that not every student wants to go to a big campus. Some do.
If there's a question in there, we'd love to hear it.
Okay, well, my question basically is, doesn't it make more sense to consolidate Missoula College at its west campus rather than having 4 campuses, which would include East Broadway or the South Campus, the main campus, the Mountain Campus, the East Campus at Sentinel High School, and the West Campus, which now houses the technological programs. And as I understand it, there's plenty of public space out there at the West Campus location. So my question then, basically is, wouldn't it make more sense to consolidate all the services of Missoula College? And as an analogy, just supposing that, supposing Walmart, for example, had its hardware section in one part of town, its groceries in another part of town, sporting goods in another part of town, etc. Or consider Ace Hardware the same way. No, it works better when everything is under one roof in a convenient location that everybody knows where to go to. And I especially appeal for the students that are coming out of our public school system. And they're the ones that are in most need, and many others, even those who want to transfer to the university. There's a transfer program at Missoula College for students who desire that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we got a question. Folks on this side of the panel? Yes, Alex.
My answer is no. And it's no because we have the existing infrastructure at place near the four-year college, and we need to consolidate there because we have the housing, we have the transportation available. If we are out on the West Campus, people will be driving there. People will not be taking a bus because it will be inconvenient, because it will be a long, long ride. Your analogy of Walmart would make sense, but the problem with Walmart is they do have all those things together, but everybody has to drive there. Or if you have the courage, you can walk and take transit and take a long time to get there. So what we need to do is to build where we already have infrastructure. And to me, that means on the South Campus.
Thank you. Anyone else on this side? Asa?
Yeah, thanks, and I appreciate the question again. I think that when folks go to Walmart, they go there because they're looking for a variety of items. I think when a person goes to a single store because they want a single item, they tend to go to a specific store that sells that item. So if you're a student, I think that the analogy of having to go to different places for different items isn't really accurate, and that's coming from a student. But I do appreciate that. Appreciate the perspective. I think that my biggest concern, and to be quite frank, I would like to see a whole litany of other options vetted before we thought about going to the West Campus. And chief amongst that is because of the transportation issue, but also because we'd be adding on to a building or increasing the traffic near a building that is already in desperate need of its own new building. I just think that we're talking about confounding problems. The building out there is not adequate for its current mission at the West Campus. And so now we're going to add another building, and then we're going to have to look at expanding the current building. Quite frankly, I personally don't think it works.
Thank you. We're already over the time, but obviously this is an important piece as residents. And so let's try to get a couple more questions, try to focus. Oh.
Is it possible to just comment on the last two comments?
Okay. Peggy first?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh. No, please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We were cruising around this way. We'll just keep cruising and then we'll come back. Okay, real quick, please.
As we were talking overall about mission of Missoula College, we're now talking about siting. I would just mention that I will repeat some of the testimony that the Commissioner of Higher Ed gave to the legislature, and also that the President has said in the past, which is that at this time, there simply is not enough buildable university land at Fort Missoula. There is a large amount of acreage. When we talk buildable land, it is limited and it is configured in kind of an interesting and difficult shape. There are a combination, I'm sorry, I'm correcting myself here, there is a combination of issues that make the university feel that it is not buildable. One is floodplain issues, one is the old Fort Missoula dump or landfill, archaeological finds, one is the recent expansion, relatively recent expansion of the historic district. There are major infrastructure questions, including sewer. There are open space, traffic, and parking issues that are a concern for people in the neighborhood out there, for residents there. So overall, no, we do not believe it would make more sense.
Jack, did you have anything before we go on? Excuse me. Jack, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to do a little rebutting here on Peggy's comment. The West Campus, we have a map and a testimony from the county surveyor saying that there is no watershed problem out there. We have some letters from the people who were in on the original archaeological surveys saying that there is no problem. We have some comments from the regional park people saying they would welcome the Missoula College at that site out there. And we have plenty of evidence that there is more than enough room for the kind of campus the Missoula College needs. Thank you.
Thank you. And now back on this side.
Actually, I didn't want to comment, but I listened to these two interesting comments. Question of transportation. It's a very interesting question. So do we assume that transportation is the primary issue? If it is, why are we avoiding, and if it doesn't matter if it's a comprehensive campus under one umbrella in one place, why don't we use all these great buildings on, the Brooks, for example, Cinema 6, Kmart, all these buildings, they have parking and so on and so forth. Why don't you want to build a building anyway? There's so many buildings available in this town that could be converted. So the West Campus, the idea is to converge them. If you don't want to converge them, don't destroy the golf course. Go and use other buildings in town. And they are on the bus route, if that's the question. Now, when you talk about the bus route also, you assume that everybody will take the bus to the South Campus. You're not thinking about neighborhoods such as Paddy Canyon, South Avenue, Higgins, which are already over-jammed by cars. I have to drive through it every day. And as I have looked at the plan, there is not enough space for all the hundreds of cars that people might bring and try to park it at this South Campus. So these explanations, I mean, if it's boiled down to the question of transportation, really, there are so many better options than South Campus, and I'm very surprised by the argument that South Campus actually does not create any traffic jams and any congestion. That's all I wanted to say about this.
Thank you. Let's get another question, and we'll try to close up this section in one or two more questions. Yes.
I'm going to be as fast as I can.
Thank you, sir.
I have a comment and a question. The comment is that we have people talking about the history of the West Campus and why it didn't work and why the South Campus should be better. I have on my computer at home a letter written by then Dean Paul Williamson to the Department of Energy, which was partially funding the building of the siting of the South Campus or the West Campus. And in it, he stated very, very succinctly that one of his goals was to have this 2-year hydrogen program ultimately morph into a 4-year program in conjunction with an engineering school. Guess who doesn't have an engineering school? Anybody here think of one in town? 1 month after this letter was written to the DOE, Denison canceled the hydrogen program at the West Campus. And I
Can you
think
get your
everybody
question?
here should know that, and anybody that wants a copy of that report, I have it. Question I have, and this is untoward, I shouldn't ask it, but I will. And that is, giving the utterly abysmal performance of the administration of the University of Montana, has Royce Angstrom given any thought to resigning? That's my question.
I will open that up to anyone who wants to take a jab at that one.
I'm going to take a jab at it.
Thank
And what
you.
I would say is, I think you're wanting your own answer to the question. I think it's an unfair question at this time. I think he has come into the University of Montana community in 2000, and I think it was 7, the same year I came back to my home state. He came as a provost for whom I worked directly, for whom several of us here worked directly, as someone open and fair and ultimately incredibly honest and straightforward. So I personally would say that that is a question that I would say everyone thinks of resigning on good days and on bad days, but I think it is something that I would say the president of the University of Montana takes very seriously his job. He very much welcomes conversation. He has come in very open about that and would have been here had he could. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get another, excuse me, sir. Can we try to get a couple other voices in? Thank you. One more question?
Thank you. My name is Derek Swanson. I'd like to present this to Dr. Joe Knapp. Throughout the conversation, I have heard a lot of underlying umbrellas such as fear, collaboration, skilled workers, critical thinkers, transitions from technical school to a four-year school. As a former teacher and now as a landscape architect and planner, every education is all-inclusive. We do not draw a line, edge, border, or boundary between first grade, second grade, high school, and higher education. They all work as a system. Joe, you have a very diverse skill set of colleagues that perform your procedures. You need that in our community. So I would like to open up the conversation opposite of this list of all the negatives of how the mission statements are different. And Joe and Ace and the rest of the board, I would like, in your opinion, what are some of the similarities in between the College of Technology and the University of Montana to help address some of these separate issues that are creating angst in going from one institution to another?
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, I think different environments, small versus big. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. The College of Technology, the Missoula College, is a fairly small community in its nature, but it's part of a larger community. Just like your neighborhood is different than my neighborhood, we're part of a larger community. I think that there are attractive. We're trying to serve a large group of individuals who are coming out of secondary education and are moving on and trying to figure out who and what they want to be. That's really the job, is trying to give kids who are graduating from the Missoula County Public Schools and the private institutions in our county opportunities to become who they are and to grow and to become productive citizens. That's the mission of both of these institutions on a global point. Point well taken. That's exactly what they should be doing. However, in the same time, various people are looking for specific skills. I couldn't have gotten to where I got going through the version of the College of Technology and stopping. A lot of people feel that's where they need to go to get a skill set that they want so that they can become a productive member of the community. There's a different set of skills that are going to be obtained at an institution like the University of Montana. Similarly, there's going to be a different set of skills for somebody going to a private institution. These are opportunity centers, and they appeal to different people. And our job, quite honestly, is to give them a plateful. We do that. There's a reason why we have a health science academy at Big Sky and we offer IB at Hellgate. Not because necessarily these are two entirely different populations, but these are different places for our students to go for opportunities. There's a reason we're putting Spanish immersion in Paxson and eventually IB at Lewis and Clark, because these are different opportunities. The idea is to provide a smorgasbord of opportunity. That's the key, that's the goal, but these are different opportunity sets. And that's really what I see as the role of the College of Technology. It's a different role, just the way the role of Paxson teaching language immersion is different than the role of Lewis and Clark providing IB. These are different roles. Is it the right way to do it? There are probably different ways of doing it. I don't think there's a right and a wrong. I think these are different.
Thank you. I'm going to try to get these last two standing up. We're over time, but I want to get to our closing comments. If you can try to direct your question to... Can we get to your question, please?
Very familiar about the inadequate facilities, but what percentage of, I know there's a few students at the Missoula College that require residential support, and I feel bad for them, but I also feel the bigger impact might be a lot of commuting in that not destroy the residential experience of the college.
And who would you like to have that directed to? Okay, Asa?
Sure. So I guess one issue that is brought up in your question that I want to touch on is that I don't think, in fact, I think it's a bit of a fallacy to say that we're considering integrating this campus into the Mountain campus. I don't think that that's accurate. And I don't think that anybody has suggested doing so. Now, if you look at the long-term plan of the South Campus, there may be some integration, but quite frankly, it'll still be its own building, its own facility. I think that the possibility of the East Broadway location is even more so. That would be the building there. It would still be a separate campus. So I think that kind of mitigates the concern, but in no way is it going to be a permanent fixture of the Mountain campus, and their students are not all of a sudden going to start taking en masse the big lecture hall classes, and nor are ours going to start en masse taking the smaller technical classes. But I do think that there was a time in this nation when we taught humanities because we thought they made people better. We thought they made people better people. And we've kind of steered away from that. And I see us steering even further away from that in the two-year setting. And I don't see any reason why a two-year student can't or shouldn't be allowed to take a humanities course from the University of Montana. And we talk about splitting these campuses up, there's no real practical way that would work.
Thank you, Peggy. Okay. Dr. Kia?
Just to respond to also, nobody is suggesting they should not have access to humanities and social sciences. You're again, I think, criticizing something that has not been said. I think what we are saying is why shouldn't the two-year college have its own humanities and social science and its own tenure track faculty? If you want to pay respect and be supportive of the two-year education, I think you have tenure track faculty, you have humanities programs for them, you have social science programs. It has to have a holistic curriculum of its own with its own buildings and its own facilities. I do not see this as a question of a conflict between the two. It's just accommodating the actually long-term strategic visions of the two campuses, which are totally different, as you have alluded to. But returning to your excellent question, and thank you, I think that a lot of universities have dealt with this, to have a two-year education and to have a four-year education. And the ones that I am aware of or I have studied, I have not seen anyone, again, going back to this analogy of apples and oranges, trying to mix the curriculum, between the two, and mixing the missions of the two and the objectives and outcomes of the two, and physically mixing them by bringing buildings and trying to use that building as part of the larger campus, the non-community campus. Therefore, I think we have to learn from other examples, other successful examples, and those successful examples tell us these two institutions are necessary. I completely agree with Joe that they serve different purposes. I think the two-year college is absolutely essential for students from high schools. Some of them do not want to go to four-year university, and therefore we have to have a strong two-year college, Missoula College. At the same time, we have to have a very strong four-year university. I do not want, to be honest with you, to send a student for an MA or PhD program somewhere. And this is not out of a sense of ownership or a sense of arrogance. To University of Washington, University of Oregon, and Berkeley, and then they open the transcript. Oh, why? You finished your philosophy, and you had, by the way, 15 credits in carpentry. I mean, how does the University of Montana look out there when we mixed, again, the apples and oranges? I think the two-year college should be there, the transition to four-year university should be there, but the University of Montana with its own four-year degree should be kept as an integrated, holistic, liberal arts, leading liberal arts institution in the state of Montana.
Thank you. Now, please hold your applause. I'm sorry, I'm going to be the most unpopular person in the room, but I'm going to have this our last question and then allow the panelists to have 2 minutes each. I'm sorry, it just got to end. We're already a half an hour longer than I had prescribed, funny enough. Please. Could you make sure the light is on that? Okay. Thank you.
I'm the mother of a 14-year-old, and today we went to the orthodontist, and the orthodontist said he went to Tech, then he went to Harvard for his orthodontics degree, and he said that Tech had prepared him. And I think that's everyone's wish in this room, that our educational institutions in Montana prepare our children and our students to go out into the bigger world. He had felt it was well prepared to do Tech. So, today I've heard
And the question, please?
UTech, how is UTech different than Missoula College? Does it have its own board? Is it, and at the legislative level, I mean, why do we connect our Missoula College to the University of Montana? And then over the years that I've lived in Montana, Missoula College has grown into Missoula College, and how is it growing differently than UTech?
Who would you like to have answer that?
Peggy Kuhr. So at the legislative level, we link our community colleges to our universities. And how is it different at UTech than at Missoula College? Because I almost think that Missoula College should be on the University of Montana campus. We're sharing administration, we're sharing the board, and I feel that probably UTech has more autonomy than Missoula College. So can you compare and contrast it all for me?
Thank you.
I can try to answer that quickly, and I'm not an expert in that. But I would say that the university system for the state is essentially been divided into the University of Montana and its affiliated campuses and Montana State University. And Montana Tech is an affiliated campus of the University of Montana, as is Western in Dillon, as is Helena College. And so it is its own entity. Missoula College is embedded within the University of Montana, Missoula, and that's been the case since 1994. I'm not sure that's a complete answer. That's what I can tell you at the time. And I mean, there are people in this room who can answer it, and the Commissioner's office.
Thank you. Clearly, there are more questions. That's all the time we have for tonight. I'd like to ask each panelist in the same order we started this evening to take 2 minutes, if you can, closing statements suggesting next steps to this conversation, and we'll start with Peggy Kuhr.
Push the button again. I guess I would just mention one thing, and that is if we step back or step up to the 50,000-foot level and look at our conversation, which has been good and vigorous and interesting and engaging, we might think that Missoula College is in trouble. And I would like to remind all of us that Missoula College has been a tremendous success. We have students like Asa who go on. We have students who have done incredible work. Those who have gone on to 4-year degrees and beyond, those who are getting training, tremendous partner in economic development, tremendous partner with the city and the county and the school district, and the fastest growing of the 2-year colleges in the state of Montana. So from that perspective, I think it's important for us to understand that it has been embedded since 1994. It has its own mission as part of the 2-year programs in the state of Montana, and it's been a tremendous success and benefit to the university and the community, and that gets to the people. And I would mention as far as next steps, as all of you know, there is this East Broadway site. It is being, as the president likes to say, giving due diligence for suitability, feasibility as a possible alternative location. We don't have that information back from the architect and the engineers yet. We are planning public forums and fully sharing that information when we have it. And we don't have it yet. We anticipate public forums on location and that as a possible site when we have it. And we're hoping that will be this summer.
Thank you very much. Mehrdad, Kia, 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, again for organizing this wonderful forum. I'm very honored to have been part of this. I think what Peggy just said, I will second it. The Missoula College has been an outstanding part of the community. The leadership of the Missoula College has done an outstanding job. They have worked very hard to provide services for the Missoula College students under very difficult circumstances. I came to this forum as a staunch supporter of the Missoula College and 2-year education, and I remain one as well. The discussion is not really lack of should we or shouldn't we. I have not talked to anyone in this community who do not support 2-year education and Missoula College. The issue is a much larger issue, and that is the question of the curriculum of the two-year education and how it should interact with the four-year curriculum, and then the physical space where it should occupy. On those, I hope we continue this discussion. I think this discussion was very healthy, very open, very public, very transparent. And I speak here about myself when I speak about the university. The University of Montana is not an island, is not separated from this community, is not separated from the state. It's a public institution. Our salaries are paid by Montana taxpayers. We are responsible to share all information as soon as we have it, publicly, openly, and in a very transparent fashion with the entire community. And there is no done deal until the community participate in the decision-making process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Could you please hold your applause if at all possible? And now Alex Taft, 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Earlier, I said that we sell education as our economic strategy in the city. When business leaders and developers come to Missoula, we may take them fly fishing, but we really try to sell them on the educational benefits in this town. The University of Montana is not any state university. It has great distinction throughout the world and throughout the nation. Its forestry program is an international program. Its creative writing program is known throughout all our great cities of this country. We do education well here. We need to add to that education with the Missoula College expansion. And we need to have more opportunities for students to come here. As you heard in the introduction, I have an urban planning degree. I also spent 30 years in the profession. And that experience has taught me that in this case of the location for the expansion of Missoula College, that one, we already have had a lengthy public process. We have a plan. 3, the legislature and governor, in their wisdom, have given us $29 million to spend in this town. And 4th, we need to begin the building.
Thank you very much, Alex. Joe Knapp, 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. And thank you all for hanging in there. Putting my school board hat back on, we have students, 800 to 900 of them a year, who need ongoing educational opportunities. And these two institutions, while conjoined in some fashions, are distinct and have entirely different roles, and both need to be valued and treasured and continued. Putting on my professional hat as a physician, I couldn't have gotten to where I am without an institution like the University of Montana. Although I am not a Montana resident, did not go to school here, I could not have gotten to where I have gotten without institutions like the University of Montana, which, by the way, turns out or gets people into schools of medicine at a level that is in the top 5 or 10% in the country as far as percentage of enrollees. It's an extraordinarily capable institution when training people at high ends. Similarly, I can't do my job as a clinician without people who graduate from institutions like the College of Technology. They play different roles, and neither one of them can be short-shrifted in this discussion. Now, to get down to the nuts and bolts of where they are and how they interact, that's an entirely different game, and I'm not in that game. I can just tell you that in the process of those who do have to play that game, there are extraordinary pressures coming from very different areas, some political, some financial, that actually have to play a role here. And keep in mind that in conditions like this, when you're trying to figure out where to put places, perfection can be the enemy of the good. So be kind with each other when you have these discussions. Be open, be honest, and be respectful. And thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Michele Landquist, 2 minutes, please.
I want to make it clear that I do support and place a high value on all of the educational opportunities that Missoula offers, whether it's the the VOTEC, the Adult Continued Education Center, or even the things that the Extension Office has to offer in their educational opportunities. Location, does matter. The old plans, the 2002, 2004, 2007, maybe it's time to just dust them off, bring them out, re-review them publicly, and refresh the public's mind. And as you review, then I think the public really is calling for that, and that's part of what makes a public process so great, and that's part of even what makes it kind of nerve-wracking for me as an elected official when I know we have plans sitting on shelves that we're trying to implement, but we need the money. And that just makes it even more worthwhile and more of value for us to enter into perhaps a broader conversation, because we are all in this together and trying to share the scarcity of what land is left in the Missoula Valley here and utilize it to its highest and best use. I also don't want anything lost in the conversation as it moves forward. As far as someone here mentioned, why aren't you talking to the citizens and students? Non-traditional students matter too. And that's a subject for a different day and time. But I know I've got my own story that I bring to the table as a non-traditional student and the trials and tribulations, and I know others would too. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Jack Lyon, 2 minutes.
Jim, I want to thank you again for bringing this whole thing to a head in a way. These three forums are, this is the first one, and it has been beautiful. My only regret is there weren't 500 people here instead of what we have 100 or so. The next ones will add to this, I'm sure, and the way we're headed, I can only be thrilled about the idea that we are going to have a series of public forums in addition to these three to actually discuss what goes on in Missoula and with the education system. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last panelist, Asa Hohman, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Jim, and thanks everybody for coming out again. I think that what's important to remember as we do move forward is that for all the differences we may have inside this room, we have a lot more in common than we do against one another. We're all concerned citizens, and we're all very active members of the community. And quite frankly, if we were to have a discussion at Sean Kelly's, there'd be a lot more things that we'd agree upon than we see in this meeting. And I think that's important to think about moving forward. I also want to take the time to thank the university and the administration, because quite frankly, they're answering a need that the students have voiced. They're answering a need that came from the students. And very often in this community and at the university, the students don't always have the most heard voice, even though there's almost 15,000 of us. The university is acting wholeheartedly on behalf of the students who have had their voice, and their voice said, we can't wait for another generation to have the adequate facilities that we need for the two-year school. We don't have time to wait for another legislative session before we can start training these students in the atmosphere that they deserve, the atmosphere that trains them the best, and the atmosphere that prepares them for the future we all want them to have. So overall, I have faith and optimism. What location we pick, I have faith in the community, and I have faith in the university. And so I think that that's what we should all take forward from this meeting, is that more or less we can all believe in each other, even though every once in a while we get irritated.
Thank you, Asa. I want to thank everybody here for coming to this forum tonight. I know it's not adequate to meet everybody's needs. It's a step in the direction we seem to agree we need to go. I encourage all of you to turn out again on Tuesday, July 23rd at 7 p.m. right here in City Council Chambers for forum number 2. The theme will be jobs in the local economy. What makes a campus? How are they related? I would like to thank our panelists tonight who took time out of your lives to be part of this panel, and to the MCAT audience for viewing in. Please join us again on our next forum, and thank you very much for coming tonight.
It was so nice meeting you. Wonderful meeting you. Best of luck for the next term.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It's a fabulous thing. Well, thank you. Michele, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.